Hey, if you're pregnant over 40, I have just the community for you. It's a private community away from Facebook where women just like you come together to meet and support one another during pregnancy. To sign up for the waitlist, go to over40fabulousandpregnant.com/waitlist and be the first to know when the membership is open. I can't wait to see you inside. Welcome to Over 40, Fabulous and Pregnant. I am your host, Jamie Massey, and you're listening to episode 40. If you're looking for pregnancy stories of women over 40, you've come to the right place. And today on the show, we have Tracy from K-Pack, Michigan on to share her pregnancy journey at 41. I found her story so inspiring. She talks about how much she exercised and how determined she was to stay on her diet. It was so inspiring. And then not only that, you'll hear her birth and just how easy it was and quick. And then her recovery. Oh my gosh. So inspiring. I am ready to go work out myself. So before we get started with her story, I do want to give you a little update on myself. This is the second week of medication to increase the thickness of the lining of my uterus. And Friday is my appointment to check that. So if all goes well, I will have my transfer basically in 2 weeks, which will be the following Friday, the 14th. I don't have a ton of side effects with this medication so far. I've had like cramps on either side, like ovary wise. But other than that, I haven't really had a lot of symptoms. So last week I mentioned that I was in the process of writing a letter to myself as my future self being a mother, and writing a letter to myself while I'm trying to conceive. And I found that exercise so incredibly helpful. I will put a link to that letter. I just put it on the website. And, it's not about the letter. It's not about reading it in some future time period. It's really about writing the letter in a whole new different mindset as I am already a mother and how that feels. And I just found it so useful. It's really giving me a lot of peace that, it's already going to happen. And I really loved it. Of course, I completely cried my eyes out when I wrote it, but it's been really useful. If any of you actually end up doing this, I would love to know if it helped you. I suggested it to someone a while ago, and she said that it would actually make her sad. And I almost would want to tell her, what are your thoughts why it would make you sad? Because if you're already a mother and speaking as you're already a mother, it shouldn't make you sad. So I don't know. I found it really useful, and I guess I'm choosing to not believe anything negative. And I really want to go into this transfer as positive as I can be and ignore everything else. Oh, one thing I also started doing, I have been starting to do yoga quite more frequently than I have in the past. I've really been trying to do it like 3 or 4 times a week, which really helps me be more relaxed, which I think is probably one of my biggest problems. I feel like I walk around with this stress all the time. And yoga helps. And I also started going to the chiropractor. I have heard from many guests say how much chiropractic care has helped them be successful in their pregnancy. And I'm like, yes, I'm ready to get on board with that. I think I've been 2 or 3 times already. The first time I went, now I've been to the chiropractor before, and the first time back again, I came home and I just totally crashed. I absolutely could not stay awake. And I looked it up and I even told him, and it's quite normal to fall asleep after your first appointment at the chiropractor. And he said it's working, and I'm really hoping that it will. I know it will. I have already felt like more calmer. And so like between the letter and doing the chiropractor care and doing yoga, I feel so much more relaxed. And I can't wait to go to my appointment on Friday and see how things are progressing. I will keep you updated, and let's get into Tracy's pregnancy story at 41. Tracy, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story.
Oh, my pleasure.
Welcome to the show. And before we get started with your story, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 41 years young, Tracy Gabrielsen. I'm from a small town of 2,000 people called Capac, Michigan. I have a husband and 2 kids, and we recently moved there. Actually, it will be part of my story is that we moved there when I was pregnant, and I work from home with 2 kids by my side, and I absolutely love it.
And will you tell us the story of how you got pregnant and finding out?
Absolutely. So my recent pregnancy, the one that I was in my 40s with, I found out I was pregnant. I just felt off one day, and I was working at my small business, and the girl I was working with, I told her, I was like, I think I might be pregnant. I just feel really weird. I feel really off. I'm not late. Or she's like, well, are you late? And I was like, no, I'm not late or anything. I'm not supposed to start for 3 days. And then something that afternoon was like, just stop and get a test. So I stopped and got a test, and I took it, and I was like, oh, I don't know. This like line is very faint. It could be like, but I'm like, I've taken tests before and it was clearly a no line. So I was like, all right. I told my husband that night, I was like, I think I might be pregnant. He's like, well, take it again in the morning. Are you sure? Like it's a very faint line. So I took a pregnancy test again in the morning. It was a little bit darker. The next morning, it was a little bit darker. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant at this point. So it was definitely a surprise, but ironically, it was the day I found out, the day I took that first test was the day I finally got to my pre-pregnancy weight from my first pregnancy.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, are you kidding me? I just got back into the best shape and I'm pregnant again.
Well, tell us, were you trying? Was this planned?
It wasn't planned. It was definitely something we had talked about. So part of my story is that we have a son who's 4. So I was 37 when I had him. And then a year and a half, when he was a year and a half, I went to have a procedure done, and they make you take, because it's under an x-ray machine. So they make you take a pregnancy test, and I found out I was pregnant. I miscarried that one at 8 weeks. So I think at that point, it was one of those conversations where we kind of got excited again. We didn't know if we wanted more kids, but then by getting pregnant and having the miscarriage, it was a conversation we had to have with each other. And I think we were both open if it happened. We are both big in our faith and our religion. So we just kind of said, it's God's plan, whatever God has planned for us. So it was one of those where if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. secretly after the miscarriage, I really wanted a girl. I just really want a girl in life. I want a daughter to be able to like bring her up and encourage her and empower her and give her, everything that I've always, wanted. But, we weren't in a good place. So obviously it takes two people to make a pregnancy work. So it was not like we were necessarily trying. So I just kind of gave up on the thought of having another one. I was like, all right, I just turned 40 and I'm just going to start focusing on myself. We actually both of us had just got out of right before my 40th birthday, we just got out of being in the hospital for 2 weeks with COVID pneumonia. So it was really tough where it was just like, I need to start focusing on me. Even though I was healthy and I was working out, like it just hit me really hard when I got it. So I got out of the hospital right before a week before my 40th birthday. So I turned 40 and it was one of those things where it's like, I shifted my mind and I said, I need to start focusing on me. I need to start focusing on building strength because I have a child I need to take care of already. And I'm 40 and he's 3. So I need to kind of shift how I'm thinking. And then ironically, the day I got to my pre-pregnancy weight and stronger than I was before, I found out I was pregnant and it just kind of happened naturally.
That's awesome. It's like your body said, oh, you're ready now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way I thought of it. It was like, maybe I just wasn't ready because of the things that were going to happen. And when I got pregnant and had the miscarriage, it was actually August and September, and we were getting married that December. So like I would have been pregnant during our wedding. We had already postponed our wedding the first time because we found out we were pregnant with our son, which was a surprise. So it was like, okay, well, now I guess I'm going to be a few months pregnant. I was going to be 20 weeks pregnant at our wedding. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll do the wedding cake. And then, we miscarried and, I believe God had a plan for us and it just wasn't the time. So I got to truly enjoy our wedding. I got to truly enjoy our honeymoon. And now we have our almost 6-month-old daughter. So.
Yeah, that's great. And thanks for sharing about your miscarriage. I'm sorry it happened, but on this show, I really try to encourage women to discuss miscarriage more. And I appreciate that.
I think it's more common than people realize, especially with technology and tests. You're able to test so much sooner. Like I think about, like my grandma and her sisters, how many of them had miscarriage and they had no idea. They just probably thought they were having a very heavy period because they didn't have all the pregnancy tests back then. So I think now it's more common. And I think it is nice to talk about because some women, they might not have anyone to talk about. So to know that someone else has truly been going through that, you never know what to say to them. And it's okay that you don't know what to say, but by knowing other people have gone through it, it helps.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom had 6 miscarriages. So it's really common in our house to discuss miscarriage a lot. So that's good. So now you're pregnant. Tell us, how was your pregnancy?
So night and day compared to my first. Like I said, my first pregnancy, I was 36, 37 when I had him. This pregnancy, I was 40 and then 41 when I had her. The pregnancies were night and day. So, and I share this as part of my story because if any of you end up following me on social media, I'm very big on being inspired by wellness, nutrition, fitness. And with my son, I was a surprise pregnancy. I'm going to share part of that just because I find it funny. One of my best friends was late. I was a day late and she's like, please take a pregnancy test with me. I'm scared to take one alone. I end up being the one pregnant and she was not, even though she was a week late. So, and I had just got into really, I had just lost 30 pounds and I was like, all right. So my first pregnancy was, and I share this because it's just, to me, it's just part of the whole story. So my first pregnancy, mentality wise, I was in a bad space in my head where I got depressed during my pregnancy. I didn't want in my head, I was just like, I want the pregnancy, but I don't want I don't want to gain the weight. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to gain all this weight. And I wasn't thinking the way that I thought in the next pregnancy. So from the first pregnancy to the second pregnancy, even though I was older, my mindset was so much different because I feel like I truly trained and prepped myself that if God blessed me with another, that's how I looked at it. If God blesses me with another child, I want to be able to mentally know that as a woman, our bodies are meant to expand and grow and nurture that child. We are growing a human being inside of us. This is not just and as a woman, that's something that like I said, I'm very faithful. So, anyone, whatever your beliefs are, like your beliefs are your beliefs. I'm just sharing my story. But I truly feel like, God gave us as women that ability, if that's part of our plan, to have children and birth them, because we are capable of doing so much compared to a man. Nothing against a man, because I feel like they are capable of doing other things that we might not be capable of. So just the whole mentality of how I looked at my pregnancy was totally different this time around.
What doctor did you use? Did you use the same one as your first one?
So yeah, I started with the same doctor I went to the first one, because I love them. But the doctor, it was one of those practices where they had 8 doctors and you kind of rotated the doctor. So whoever was on call, you felt some kind of comfort with them. And then as we found out we were pregnant and started having the conversations, we had the conversation and said, are we going to get closer to family or still live? Like, we were both 3 to 3.5 hours from either set of parents. So it was one of those where my husband applied with his company and ended up getting a transfer. So at 24 weeks pregnant, based on my husband's schedule, at 24 weeks pregnant, we moved states. So we moved 3.5 hours away, and I had to find a new doctor at 24 weeks. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those where in my opinion, I kept hearing that I was a geriatric pregnancy, and I was just trying to, I was so nervous to find a new doctor. But because we moved closer to my husband's family, I reached out to my sister-in-law and said, hey, who did you use? Because I know nobody. Mm-hmm. So I ended up going with the doctor that she delivered both of her kids. And there were 4 doctors in that practice. So part of my story is I actually almost fired them a week before I was 40 weeks along, because part of my story is that they kept wanting me to be induced. And I'm like, I'm so much healthier this time around. I feel amazing. Like, my daughters, everything on the scans have been amazing. Like, why do I have to be induced? Like, I just want to go naturally in my pregnancy. And then a week before I was 40 weeks, I met the last doctor I hadn't met yet. And she finally sat down with me, and I was like, can we just have I want to understand why. So she sat down with me and we had a good almost hour conversation. I feel bad for the patients after me that may have had to wait, but I wanted to know, can we talk about me? Can we talk about my facts? Can we talk about my pregnancy? Can we talk about why you may want to have me be induced when everything is showing perfectly fine? And she had the conversation with me. She said, a lot of it is just, these are the studies that are done. But I'm always willing to have, your scans look amazing. You're already 3 centimeters. There's no reason to induce you. I don't feel. So she was comfortable with me going to 42 weeks if I went to 42 weeks.
Good.
Now, being that 42 weeks was going to put me into Thanksgiving weekend, and I'm from Ohio, my husband's from Michigan. So you guys if anyone knows the rivalry of the football games, 42 weeks would have been the day of the Ohio State Michigan game. And my husband would have came home if I would have went into labor. So I had a set plan that if I didn't go by the Wednesday, I think it was the Tuesday before, I think it was Tuesday, the 22nd, I was going to be induced on the 22nd, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. But by being induced, it was just going to be, they were going to go in and break my water because I was already so far along. I was already dilated. So it wasn't drug induction. I was trying to stay away from drug induction for my personal beliefs and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So did you find out the gender during pregnancy?
I'm a planner. I was an event planner before, and I love planning events. I just couldn't go without knowing it. It was just one of those things where it's like, I need to know, because I have some boy stuff saved and some gender neutral stuff. If it's a girl, I want the ribbons, the bows,
We're going pink all the way.
I want the princess stuff. So it was definitely one of those where it's like, I want to know. So we talked about it and we did the DNA testing, but we didn't do any of the testing as far as genetics or anything. We just did the DNA testing for gender. Mm-hmm. So I told him, I was like, if it comes back a girl, we're for sure having a girl. But if it comes back a boy, I told him, I'm still going to hold up and hope until the 20-week ultrasound, because maybe, my son's DNA or his DNA in the house, ruined the test. But so when it came back, we did and you get the email with the kit. So you send in your information, they send you the email. So we did a video of us opening up the email to find out it was a girl.
Oh, cute.
And then we did, so it was right before Easter. And so then not this past Easter, since Easter just happened, the Easter last year in Easter, we kind of did, I had my sister make like a little shirt because we did our maternity like announcement or pregnancy announcement. We did a Toy Story themed. So we had our son in a box that said toys. He was dressed as Woody and it said, "You got a friend in me, my best friend coming." The date was 11/11/2022 was our due date. So then we had a shirt that said, so like each of our family member had to open the egg. It had the onesie in it that said my best friend. And it had a picture of Jessie. So it was,
Cute.
So yeah, we definitely, being a planner, I definitely wanted to know. I couldn't wait.
And how was it finding out? You found out through email, right?
Yeah, it was, that part's different because in our first one we had our friends, we knew, but our friends did a cake. So we cut a cake in front of our families. This one, we found out via email. So it was, it was different finding out that way, but I wanted to know so bad. And I think there was like a relief because I was like, oh my God, I wonder if it comes back a boy. Like, am I going to just be that boy mom, which I would have been okay with. But like secretly, when I found out the first one, because at 37 with my first pregnancy, I was thinking it was one and done. I wasn't going to have any more kids. Just because of the stereotypical things you hear out there, I just kind of started getting fearful that maybe that was my one shot of, having a child. And it's like, so when I found out he was a boy, I was like holding back tears. It's not that I wasn't happy. It was just, I wanted a girl in case this was like a one and done thing. But I now have my girl and I'm beyond happy. And it's amazing because I just love my son was like a mama's boy and he still is. And like, you can tell she's going to be such a daddy's girl because she has him wrapped around her finger. Like it's the best.
And how was it? Were you just scanning the email looking for boy or girl on there?
So it actually shows plays a little video. So it doesn't say it in the email. It like has like a little video clip. Mm-hmm. So you can't feel like you can open the email and not know. You have to actually press the video because then the video plays and then it pops up pink with confetti.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, it was definitely great.
How did you feel when you saw it's a girl?
I just was like, thank you, Lord, thank you. I was just happy because as a girl, like growing up, I have an older brother, and it was just like that protection from having an older brother. So it was like I just wanted that for my kids. I always dreamed of having a boy and a girl, with the boy being older so he can protect his younger sister. Mm-hmm. And I also have a younger sister. I have a half sister who's 13 years younger than me. So I was a teenager when I quit being the baby. Mm-hmm. So I had both, but it was just like my personal dreams as a little girl was I was going to have 2 kids. I was going to have the boy, then I was going to have the girl. So watching it unfold, like it's like my dreams are coming true.
And was there any product that you couldn't live without or you would recommend that helped with pregnancy?
So I'm definitely I'm very into my nutrition. So my tea concentrate was what gave me life. Like I drink it 2 times a day, my herbal tea concentrate. I drink it in the morning. I actually was what made me sick also. So I had to eat like an apple with peanut butter before I could drink it. So I didn't have an empty stomach. But my tea, it gave me energy because having a toddler and then being pregnant, it was totally different. It was a different type of tired. Like I'm chasing one kid and then I'm like having that pregnancy tired while I'm chasing a kid. It was just, I felt so tired. So that and my collagen, because I loved the collagen. I personally have noticed a difference because the collagen that I take has a Verisol collagen, which is provenly known to help with skin elasticity. And I didn't want to add more stretch marks. So like that has been like were my 2 things that I did not skip a day or skip a beat on.
And were you able to work out throughout your pregnancy?
I worked out until 38 weeks pregnant. I was really big on I worked out 7 days, 6 days. I don't know that I ever missed more than 5 days a week my entire pregnancy. Once I hit 38 weeks and the baby started dropping and that pressure, I started kind of just walking. So it's not that I wasn't working out. I just kind of started walking at that point. So I was walking probably 4 or 5 days a week, but I wasn't necessarily lifting because the pressure it was a lot. And I was like, I thought I was going to go early because I started feeling the pressure so much earlier than I did with my son.
And what inspired you to keep working out throughout your pregnancy?
I just wanted to I mean, if my friends that know me know this, like, I really just wanted to inspire other people to show the difference in like my last pregnancy and this pregnancy. So for me, the pregnancy, just being healthy, knowing that my bones are a little bit older, knowing that there's so much stereotypical things that are out there. I didn't want to necessarily believe anything. I wanted to do my own research on everything along the way and come up with my own facts or my own, reasons of why I'm doing something. So it was just, I wanted to be able to have a healthier pregnancy. I have a lot of women that I look up to in my life who are actually younger than most of them were younger than me in their 30s, their 20s. But even just seeing how fitness helped their pregnancies from like a fit to a non-fit pregnancy was very inspiring to me. And I just wanted to show people that like, don't believe what you see, like make your own facts and live your own life and do what you feel is right. Because no matter what you're searching for, you're going to find things that are going to like help steer you in one direction or the other, but you already have your mind made up. So that's what you're going to find more information on when you start looking for things, is what I believe, in my opinion. So it's definitely something where I wanted to feel good and I wanted to truly enjoy the pregnancy. And this pregnancy was absolutely amazing. Like, I just absolutely loved it.
Yeah. It sounds like you wanted to be an example of what's possible.
Absolutely. I wanted to, I mean, if you see my Instagram, it's inspired by wellness. I wanted to be inspiring to other women.
And what about your diet? Did you change that whenever you knew you were pregnant?
No, I actually didn't. So my first pregnancy, I did not, there was a lot of things I didn't like. Like, I think I lived on a plain cheeseburger for my first trimester because that's all like when I was pregnant with my son, I swear that's all I could eat was plain cheeseburger. This pregnancy, I did change it some because this pregnancy, I could not stand the smell of meat. Like, if chicken was grilling or like beef or like most meats, if they were cooking in front of me, like it made me like nauseous and want to go like barf. And so it was one of those where if it was already cooked and I didn't smell it being cooked, I could eat it, but I couldn't. I'm like, but I'm the one who cooks my food. So like I had to be very cautious or buy stuff that was already cooked because otherwise I just couldn't eat it because I had that smell in my nose. And then I was like, oh, that just ruined my appetite. But I didn't change anything in my diet. I just stuck to, what I was doing and what was working for me. And, I had a very fit, like my first pregnancy, I kind of stuck with my nutrition, but not really. This pregnancy, I truly stuck with my nutrition, my fitness. And it was just like night and day, how I carried the baby, how I felt, how, even how like, obviously once I go into like my delivery story and stuff, it's just like, to me, all been an amazing experience.
And how did you prepare for birth and baby?
So I definitely, tried to find what exercises are going to help. So I did a lot of, squats just because to keep my legs strong. So I did a lot of squats. I did a lot of yoga. I did yoga once a week just to continue stretching my body. Our bodies are naturally meant to deliver babies. So it was just, what are the things that are going to help me, like, based on when I go into delivery, the position that's comfortable to me, what are the exercises that are going to help me stretch those areas or help me stretch those hips? So I did a lot of hip stretching. I did a lot of yoga and lifting weights because I wanted the strength. And then I also practiced, I don't even know what to call it, but kind of like that primal sitting where you're like in a really deep squat.
Mm-hmm. Is that lotus?
I think so. I forget what it's called, but yeah, you're like in that deep squat. Your arms are on kind of like your knees. But I practiced that weekly of just being in that deep squat, which felt really good. You wouldn't think it felt good, but because I was practicing it every week, it really felt good. And I did that until I was through the entire pregnancy, even at 40 weeks. So
yeah. Did you think that helped with birth?
I definitely do, because I feel like it helped like open my hips up more.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing is that I had a mom who told me, and then I started doing my own research on it, is to help prepare me for birth was dates. I'm going to share this because I want to help other people, but I eat 6 dates a day. But dates, if you like look up and research dates help expand your cervix and like not expand it, but loosen up your cervix. So like actually when I was at the end of my pregnancy, she's like, your cervix is very like just ready to like open and go. So I believe it was the dates because I did not have dates my first pregnancy. So I was like, well, it's worth a try. And she's like, the doctor actually even said she was going to do more research on it because if she feels that could help, she's going to share it with her future patients. So,
oh, interesting.
Never had a date in my life until this pregnancy. Did
it help you be super regular too? Or did you?
I mean, I was already kind of regular because of some of the nutrition products that I was using. Like I drank an aloe every day, which that was another product. Like I drank an aloe concentrate, which I think helped keep my digestive system going. Because in pregnancy, naturally, you're going to get backed up. You're going to get constipated. Yeah. I know people don't like talking about your digestion, but it's only natural. Everything is getting crammed into your stomach. So your digestion system kind of shrinks and just, so making sure you're eating fiber and making sure you're doing things that are going to help your digestive system because it's already going to have a hard enough time. So you want to I wanted to make sure I was doing things that were going to keep helping my system stay regular.
Yeah. I've had hemorrhoids since 2007, so I have no problems talking about that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think I've had them since before then. So like, I literally want to say it was back in I want to say I was in college. So like early 2000s, it was just something I got them. And it's like, once you get them, you get them more often. So yeah, I've never had a problem talking about poop.
Yeah, me either. Okay. So when did labor start?
So labor actually started on a Saturday morning. There were all these times where it's like, am I going into labor? Am I not prior to that? But then, they say if you feel like you're going into, if feel like you're having contractions, sit, because you're not going to have contractions when you're at rest. If you're in labor, the contractions are going to happen whether you're at rest or moving. Mm-hmm. So like I would rest and the contractions went away. I was like, well, I'm not in labor. But then on a Saturday, my husband was actually supposed to go to the Michigan game with one of my best friends and her husband. And he's like, I'm not going. Obviously, you haven't had the baby yet. I was already past due. So I went past 40 weeks. I was 41 weeks in a day when I actually gave birth. So labor started on a Saturday morning. He's like, I'm going to go to work since I'm not going to the Michigan game. I'm going to get my staff off on their routes for the day. And then I didn't say anything while he's at work, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have this baby today. So like around 10 o'clock, I started having contractions and I knew they were contractions because if I moved, if I sat, it didn't matter. The contractions were there.
Why did you think birth was going to happen then? Or labor was going to start that day? What symptoms did you have?
I had already had all the symptoms for 4 weeks. So like everything that they say, oh, this is a sign labor is coming. So like, I thought I was going to go early because I kept having the signs. I had already lost my mucus plug. I had, I already have the pressure like that, they say you feel the pressure when the baby drops. And like, I already went through the nesting like 4 weeks prior to giving birth. So it's like, I've already went through all the signs that labor was supposed to happen within, like, typically they say when you look those things up, it's like, most of those things say labor will probably happen within a week. And I was trying everything to try to get this, by the time you hit 38 weeks, like once you 39, like you're just like, okay, I'm ready now.
Yeah.
So I was trying like everything possible to try to get this pregnancy to go. And
what were you trying?
Nothing. The only thing I didn't do was castor oil. I did not do that. But like, I mean, obviously, I'm very open of a person. Obviously a baby is created by sex. So unless you go through a different method, but like we tried sex, we tried, I'm trying to remember some of the things that we were doing, or trying different things that people say to eat, spicy foods. I'm like, I've eaten spicy foods for a week and a half now and nothing. Those were like just things where it's just like, everyone's like, well, try this, try that. Anytime someone told me to try something, I'm like, yep, I tried it and I still haven't gone into labor. So that Saturday, I just felt it was different because like I said, all the contractions I had before that day, once I sat and relaxed, the contractions went away. On this occasion, they weren't going away. They were very like far off. So like when I woke up, I was like, oh, I think that might've been a contraction. And then at around 10 o'clock, I kind of started, it was 10 or 11 a.m. I think it was 11 a.m. I was like, all right, I'm going to start timing them. So, all right, I have contraction 11 a.m. And then for 2 hours, it was like every hour. So it was like 11 a.m., 12 p.m., 1 p.m. contraction. After 2 hours, it went to 30 minutes. So 30 minutes. And my husband was home at this time. He got home around 12:30 to watch the Michigan football game that he couldn't go to. And I told him, I said, I think we're having this baby today, my contractions. And we lived an hour from the hospital because we're in a small town. So we're 45 minutes to an hour from the hospital based on traffic. So I was like, they tell you once your contractions are like 7 or 8 minutes apart to head to the hospital. And I was like, we probably should go around 15 minutes just because we're so far from the hospital. So it was like, all right, I timed them for 2 hours. They were about 30 minutes apart. So then the game was starting. Then right at the end of the game, they were like within 15 minutes of each other. So we already had everything packed for weeks at that time because I was past due.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had everything ready to go. So we had our son with us. So then it was like one of those, like my mom's in Ohio. She's like trying to figure out, do I come? She had already come to visit like 2 other times thinking I was going to go early. And his parents are like down to one car, and his dad was working the Michigan game. So his mom didn't have like transportation. So we're like trying to coordinate everything. So my mom was having my siblings over and she's like, do I tell them like, do I come? I was like, Mom, I don't know what to tell you because the other times I didn't go, but like for sure I'm going to have this baby soon. How soon? I don't know, but I'm definitely having contractions. And they're like, at that time, they're 15 minutes apart. She's like, all right, well, I'm going to start driving. When you tell me you're going to the hospital, I'm going to come. And then, so we had to coordinate everything. So like his sister had to meet us at the hospital to pick up our toddler. So here I am passing off a toddler while I'm my contractions. At that time, when I got to the hospital, my contractions were, I swear every bump made my contractions go closer and closer under the way. And I know someone said car rides, bumpy car rides, like they're not lying. Once you're having contractions, bumpy car rides, oh my God, I feel like they sped my contractions up because every bump, it was like contraction right after each bump. So by the time I got to the hospital, the contractions were 3 to 4 minutes apart. So get checked in, drop the toddler. My sister takes our toddler to my mother-in-law's. And then once I get checked in, and by the time I get to my room, the contractions are about a minute. My mom finally got there. The contractions were about a minute or two apart. So this all started, 10, 11 a.m. to at that time, the whole process of labor, I had gave birth at 10:03 p.m. So it was just over 12 hours, the whole labor process.
So take us back. You got in the room. You already handed off your other son. What else is going on during that time?
Just listening. So we had football on the TV. It was a football Saturday. My husband's big into football. I didn't really care. I was just trying to, breathe through the contractions. I prepared myself. Like my whole goal was to try to go through this pregnancy natural and not use, I was really trying to, and part of the reason I didn't want the induction was some of the research I came across was that if you have induction, there were more percentage of C-sections. And I really didn't, knowing I already had one natural child, I was really trying to have my child natural. So I just wanted to continue to embrace that healthy routine to do whatever I can and control. Some things are out of our control, but if it's anything I can try to control. So we're in the room. I kind of was just texting on my phone, on my Facebook, Instagram, on my social media, just breathing through the contractions. Once we got to the room and checked in, I want to say it was, trying to remember what time it was. It was about 6:30 when we got into the room. Mm-hmm. So from the time we got into the room to the time delivery, it was 3.5 hours of being in the room I feel like it went really fast compared to my first pregnancy.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of wasting time Snapchatting away, responding to people. I had people reaching out, was like, hey, I haven't seen you on Instagram and your stories today. You okay? Because, at that point I'm past due. So everybody's checking in. So I had to do a daily story. Hey, still pregnant. And obviously once the contractions started happening, I wasn't doing as many stories. So it was I have people checking in. So I was texting my sister. We were updating my family, just kind of abiding the time. So
Do you remember those last pushes?
I really do believe that the fitness had a good effect of it. I only pushed once, one push, and she was out. The doctor on call. So my doctor's office was actually not on call that weekend. So I actually had a different doctor. They had warned me about that. It was if you go into labor this weekend, there's a different doctor. She's really nice. You'll really like her. So literally the doctor that ended up I spent 15 minutes with her. She came in, delivered the baby and left. Like, I was like, she got paid a lot of money for that 15 minutes. But I literally, even like, she was in awe. She's like, did that just happen? Like, I literally, once I was ready to push, because the nurse was like, all right, I'll be back to check on you. And she's like, just let me know if you feel like it's going to happen. So I kind of do, I guess now. So she was going to leave. And I was like, well, I really feel like I got to poop. And she's like, I think you're ready. Because as I'm in the hospital, I'm at 6 centimeters. It was about 8:30 ish. I'm at 6 centimeters ready to go. It was one of those where they're like, okay, well, you haven't broken your water yet. So we're probably going to just break your water to try to speed this process along. So like, they take this thin stick, I don't know what else to call it, and like kind of just go in there and like kind of like pops and you literally, but the intensity of your contractions once they break your water go from like 0 to 10, because I was at 6 centimeters breathing through my contractions fine. They were happening every 1 to 3 minutes. I was doing okay. But man, once they broke that water, it was like pain straight up my back. I had no back pain prior to that. I had all back labor with my first son. And it was like all that back labor started hitting me. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it at this point. I was like, I'm struggling. I could tell I was starting to lose focus. Like I was doing so well prior to that. But when they broke that water, it was just a different type of pain. And I tried to go as natural as possible. I ended up asking, I was like, is it too late to ask for an epidural? They're like, we need to do it now. Like if we were going to do it. And I was like, just do it. Like at this point, like my back is on fire. I can't feel my back. It's throbbing. They got the anesthesiologist in there to give me the epidural. And he ended up like hitting a nerve because I like jumped almost off the bed. And it was just like, oh my God, did I make the wrong choice? What am I doing? But he got the epidural in, and literally less than an hour after the epidural, the baby was already here. And I'm like, then I'm like, man, I probably should have just pushed past that hour. So once like I told the nurse that, she's like, I was like, yeah, I really feel like I feel like I'm going to poop. Like I definitely feel my butt is clenching. She's like, yeah, you're about to have this baby. So she checked me. I was definitely like dilated. They had the doctor come in to check. She's like, we're just going to do a practice push. Don't push, just do a practice push. So then I go to do my practice push and she's like, stop. But she's like, guys, we got to get stuff ready. So then she gets everything ready. And she's like, all right, on your next contraction, I want you to push. And I'm like pushing, and midway through the push, I was like, I took one inhale so I can do a second breath, and she was out. And the doctor just was like, that was probably the fastest delivery I've ever witnessed once pushing started. Yeah, like even my mom was just like, because in my first pregnancy, my sister was my photographer. She's 13 years younger than me. So I'm thinking, oh, this is great birth control. You were birth control for me. Being in the labor room is going to be birth control for you, not to do something stupid, right? Mm-hmm. But apparently I made the first pregnancy look easy too. So she was taking pictures. So I had my mom, I was like, Mom, you got to live up to her standards. Like I have it on live photo because, live photos on your iPhone. So I was like, you got to just take pictures. There's like 2 pictures because it went so fast. She's like, I'm sorry, I tried. But the whole process went so fast. So I only have 2 pictures compared to like the 30 some, my first one.
Yeah. If you had to go back, would you not choose the epidural?
I think I would not. I think if we were to ever get pregnant again, I think I would continue to train, because I do believe a lot of it is mind over matter. I do believe we are stronger. And there are so many things I do this, like I've done it in other areas. I think the back pain was and I think I think just being in a better environment, maybe, I don't know if a better environment, but just being in a more supportive environment, or like having someone who, just like is there that knows what to do to help me. Maybe it's going the midwife route, or, that route or something.
Or even a doula.
Like, hey, something to where it's like, okay, let's push here to relieve the pain here, where my husband and mom, yes, my mom's gone through delivery or pregnancy. She had 3 kids naturally, but a midwife or a doula or anything like that. They're more trained to know like, okay, well, if you're having back pain, let's get you in this position. So like, I think if we were to ever to get pregnancy, I might look that route to have, because I was training really hard for natural. Like I was training my mind, training my body. And obviously the pregnancy went really fast, the labor part, but I think I definitely would just try not to.
What about cord cutting? Was that important, or keeping the placenta? Was that important to you?
It was not something that it was something I looked into, but like a lot of that, like the cord banking and stuff, just financially, for financial reasons, it's just like, it gets pricey, some of that stuff. And we just had to make decisions that were best for our family. But the cutting of the umbilical cord, same thing with my first, it was definitely something, my husband, it was a moment for him, it was just something for him. So
how was recovery?
It was great. So recovery wise, I never took any of the Tylenol after delivery. They kept offering me Tylenol. They're like, here for your pain. I was like, I'm not in any pain. Like I wasn't lying. I didn't feel pain. I was like, I don't even feel like I gave birth. Like it was so ironic and weird. And I truly believe, from all of the working out as long as I did through that pregnancy and all of the training, I really do believe that was a big part of it, because I don't know how else to explain it. Like to feel like you didn't even give birth the day after you gave birth.
Wow. And what was the weight of your daughter when she was born?
Sure. So context. She was 8 pounds, 3 ounces.
So not totally small.
No.
I would say average.
Yeah. Our son was 8 pounds, 6 ounces. So she was only 3 ounces smaller than him.
That's so impressive.
And the doctor was crazy because she had like the perfectly round head, like no flat spot, nothing. Like she's like, I think that's just because you gave birth so fast. She didn't like get caught in the canal or anything. Like she just popped right out. So it didn't, affect the head at all.
And how did you choose to feed your daughter?
So nursing, breastfeeding was definitely how I wanted to go. I breastfed my son for 10 and a half months. I got sick and was on antibiotics back to back with him. So I kind of naturally dried up with the antibiotics that I was on. But I made it to 10 and a half months. So my goal for her is to make it to a year. And if I make it longer, I do. But as long as I still have milk coming out, my goal is to make it a year nursing.
And what about your diet during breastfeeding? Do you think you have to eat more?
I think definitely, I went back to, I still, even in my diet during pregnancy, it wasn't until the 3rd trimester that I started eating more, because I think my first pregnancy, the difference was I had the mentality as I'm eating for 2, but like when you first get pregnant, like you're feeding a little tiny like jelly bean. And it was just like, I had to get out of that mindset. So in this pregnancy, it was like, no, you really don't need to start eating more until the 3rd trimester when the baby starts really growing. So then with nursing, it's just going back to eating and still eating those extra calories, about 300 extra calories a day than what I would have been eating. But then also focusing on making sure I'm getting healthy fats for my milk production and, making sure so that she thrives too.
And mentally, how were you during this time?
So mentally, actually, recovery is where it hit me more in this pregnancy, where the first pregnancy, the depression was during the pregnancy, of that mentality of, I'm going to gain the weight again. With this one, I struggled with 2. I reached out to a few friends who have multiple kids, and a lot of them kept telling me going from 1 to 2 was harder than 2 to 3. 2 to 3 was nothing. 1 to 2 was the hardest. It was something about that even number, they said, because I have one that has 4. She said 1 to 2 and 3 to 4 were the harder ones, but 1 was, and then 2 to 3 were easier. She's like, I don't know why, I can't explain it. So mentality wise, I definitely got into my depression. So like my depression definitely kicked in. Postpartum depression was kicking in, and I had to reach out to friends and just ask for help. Like I wasn't embarrassed or ashamed. Like I know other women have gone through it. So I reached out to a friend who also had postpartum depression at one point. I said, what were things, so it was like I had to start doing the things that I was doing that kept my mind in a good place to begin it with. So it's like, Tracy, get back on a routine. It's hard to be on a routine when you have a newborn. Like they're nursing, 12, 13 hours of the day. So I had to try to get on somewhat of a routine for myself. because I'm a big believer in self-care. Like, how can you take care of others if you can't take care of yourself? So like, I had to start pouring into me again and making sure I'm doing like things I do daily is like, I do daily gratitude. Like I do personal development to make sure I'm like putting things into my brain that are good things. And I'm not like, it's not the news or it's not the junk or the negativity on social media. Like, I'm feeding my mind good things so that good things come out to help other people. So it was definitely getting back into that routine and then making sure, those first few weeks, you're like just trying to survive, especially with nursing. If anyone's been on a nursing journey, those first few weeks, it's just like you have a newborn attached to you, like, but it's critical during that part, you're keeping another human being alive off of your milk production. So then it was like, make sure to clean up my, my eating and things like that. So
did journaling help? Is that how you kind of gave gratitude?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have this whole process it started actually after I got out of the hospital with the COVID. I started journaling. So I kind of have like a 3-step process. I write because I'm not at nighttime. When I lay down, I'm out. Like, so I don't try to journal at night. I know it doesn't work for me because my body, if I lay down, my body knows it's bedtime. So like, I found the morning works the best. So like, I write gratitude. I write at least 4 things I'm grateful for from the day before. And it could be as simple as like, I'm grateful for an extra hour of sleep. I'm grateful for traveling. Like, I'm grateful and blessed that I get to, I got safely to Ohio, or I'm grateful, like whatever it may be. Like, I think of 4 things from the day before that I'm grateful for. I think of like 4 I am statements, like I'm grateful and blessed that I'm the highest version of myself that God wants me to be, or I'm grateful, whatever that may be. I'm grateful and blessed that I'm a master communicator, because that's something I always strive to work better with, whether it's my relationship, my friendships. So, and then I think of things in the future that I'm grateful and blessed, like, and kind of like try to speak them into existence. So yeah, I really find that helps because it gives me a focus. It's like, Tracy, like, these are the things that you want in the future that you're writing about daily. So like you're refocusing on those, and then they're in your forefront more. So then it's easier to like not push things aside. Like, don't use an excuse, because those are the things you want. And if you use the excuse, you're not going to get the things you want.
It's like you're reprogramming your brain to focus on positivity. And
absolutely,
it takes work, but it's well worth it.
Yeah. It's been a year and a half of doing this every day. And
is there anything else you want to go over about your birth or pregnancy?
I mean, I think it was just like one of those things where it's like, you have to be an advocate for yourself. That's a big thing I want to let people know, is be your own advocate. I believe in any aspect of your life, like, you have to be your own advocate, do your own research. Don't necessarily you don't have to just believe what someone tells you, because that's what, everybody's story is different. Like, you have your own story, and your story could help so many other people. So be your own advocate for you and what you feel is best for you and your family, and like in your decisions. Part of our journey, like between our first pregnancy and second pregnancy, is like, our friends all know this, so I'm like an open book, but I'll share this. My husband, our first pregnancy, part of the reason it was hard is my husband lost a child at 19 days old prior to me. So he had already lost a child. Like, he got to hold his child, name his child, all of that. And he lost a child at 19 days old. So I think going through the first pregnancy, there was a lot of pressure. Like, he was feeling pressure, like, oh my God, what happens? Like, especially once the baby was born. So this time around, already having a healthy 4-year-old, this time around, the pregnancy was different in our relationship. And I think the other thing I share is like, if you're in a relationship with going through your pregnancy, you have your spouse, you're in a relationship with your significant other, there's going to be ups and downs in your pregnancy, and it's okay. You're going to have high highs. You're going to have low lows. Your hormones are all over the place, especially while pregnant, especially while postpartum. But don't let that ruin your relationship. Continue to communicate with one another through those things, because that's like a huge part, like, I feel, that has helped my husband and I have a stronger relationship. Like, we've never been in a stronger spot, and we're 2 kids in. Mm-hmm. And like, part of that is like, no, like, it's not one of those things, if God plans it, like, I don't want to say if God plans, because obviously you actively have to be trying to have kids, or, not be using protection or anything. So it's like, But like with 2 kids right now, I can barely tell you, like, I mean, the amount of time that my husband and I have alone is very few and far between with our schedules, getting kids to bed and things like that, but it's definitely one of those that work on yourself. Like if you're trying, for those that are trying out there that have not had the opportunity to become pregnant, or maybe you had a miscarriage, like I understand what you're going through. I've been there. I've been through the miscarriage, and I just had to hold on because I did have my son already. So I had to hold on to the fact that I already had a kid. And that just became like a thing I held on to. But just hold on to the belief, like hold on to your faith, hold on to your belief, whatever it is you believe in. And maybe take your focus off of the trying to get pregnant. Cause sometimes like I truly believe, like literally, I just quit focusing on it. I took my mind off of it and was like, I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to focus on being the best Tracy that I can be. And by doing that, like, I feel like it took the pressure of whether I was going to get pregnant or not off. Cause I think sometimes when we focus on something we want so bad, it builds up a lot of pressure within us to where it ends up not happening because we're stressed. And when our bodies are stressed, it's hard, harder. Another thing that I do, whether it helped or not, I will just share with you because someone shared it with me, is that they started going to a chiropractor because sometimes our bodies aren't aligned. And I started going to like a chiropractor. I've been seeing them on a regular basis because I went through an injury in my first pregnancy. I fell when I was 6 months pregnant and hurt my tailbone. So I still have that injury to this day. So I don't know if that could have possibly like misaligned things. So like I started going to the chiropractor when I started focusing on myself again. I was like, I want to get my body start feeling good again and really getting the way it was. And literally within 3 months, I got to my pre-pregnancy weight and I was pregnant without, like, we weren't trying. We just happened to have some alone time around Valentine's Day. And then, a month later, it was definitely a Valentine's Day baby this time around. I can pinpoint that. So,
and how old is your daughter now?
So she will be 6 months. By the time that this, podcast airs, she's 5.5 months now. So by the time this airs, she'll be almost 7 months.
And do you have any plans to have more kids in your 40s?
I'm okay with 2, but at the same time, like my husband and I are both, neither of us will go get fixed or whatever the procedure is. Neither of us are fixed. We just believe that, if God wants us to have more kids and we're not careful in our planning of things, then if it happens, it happens. But we're not like actively trying for sure, but we weren't trying for the others either. They were just surprises. Mm-hmm. So, I'm on my journey of getting back to, and I don't want to say my pre-pregnancy because like, I truly believe each journey is different. So like this journey for me, it's like all about strength. It's like, I'm trying to be the strongest version of myself because I have 2 kids. I'm carrying 2 kids. I'm carrying groceries. I'm carrying, I have a toddler who's a mommy's boy. He's 4. He's 40 pounds. Like he still likes to be carried. So like, I'm trying to work on me again to build my strength, especially at our age. It's easy that if we're not taking care of our bodies and we're not taking care of ourselves, it's easy as we age for our bodies to feel worse. And I don't want that. If there's anything I can do to help make my body feel better, make my mind feel better, make, me feel better. So by eating healthy, by working out, like I just feel better. Mm-hmm. And that to me fuels it that I can then take care of my young kids at 41 years old.
And what has been your biggest challenge being pregnant in your 40s?
I think my biggest challenge is, and I don't know if it's a challenge or it was just a frustration, is I was so tired of hearing that I was a geriatric pregnancy. Mm-hmm. And I heard that for both because a lot of nowadays, there's a lot that at 35 is kind of when they consider that threshold of when you become mm-hmm. higher risk. And I was like, why am I high? Because of my age? Like, and then it's like, I really fought for the belief that there's more research these days. There's more women having kids at 35, at 40 plus. Like mm-hmm. some of these researches, like when were they done? Because yes, back in the day, 20s, 30s was starting to get a little old back in the day, but we're not back in the day. We're in 2023. Like more women are focusing more on their career, focusing more on what they want to be in life. And not just getting married, having kids. Like, so it's like, and I think that's an amazing thing because for me, I thought I was going to get married and have kids, after high school or after college, but, it wasn't in the cards because I wasn't going to settle for less than what I deserved. So like, I, really focused on me. And like when the right person came along, I feel like that was, then great. As long as we're willing to work together through the goods and the bad. So that's going to be the thing. So I don't know that it was necessarily a challenge, more of a frustration. It's like, I did not want to be a stereotype. I wanted to be different. I wanted to stand out. I wanted to be an inspiration to show what is possible and not just, oh, woe is me,
Do you think we should have a different name or no name at all?
I don't think we should have any name at all. I mean, I think there are situations as we age, there are things that could take effect that could make your pregnancy high risk. But I feel pregnancy should be a case by case basis. Like every person's body is different. Everything they've gone through is different. Like one thing that was a challenge because it was, that was a challenge is I was on a blood thinner. So I had to give myself a shot. I didn't share that, but like I had to give myself a shot every night before bed because I was on a blood thinner, because when I did have COVID a week after getting out of the hospital, I got a blood clot in my leg. The week I was supposed to come off that blood thinner was the week I found out I was pregnant. So because of my age, I was recommended that I stay on the blood thinner throughout pregnancy until 6 weeks postpartum. So like I had to go away from the pill that I was on and had to go to a shot. So I had to give myself a shot. So it was a challenge because then you're carrying, like if you're traveling, like you have to take your shots, you have to, you had to take those. And, some women have to do that, to try to get pregnant. So it's like, I don't want to say it was because there's other people that have more difficult challenges than that through their pregnancy. But for me, it was just like, I contemplated, do I do it? Do I not? Because like, I'm like, if it's just because of I was just one of those people that believes like, just because of my age, like, I'm tired of hearing that. Yeah. So it was definitely something where it was like, no, like, I don't feel 40 when I got pregnant. I didn't feel 40. I felt and looked better than I did in my 20s at 25. And that's maybe why I didn't have kids when I was younger, is because I was heavier set and I didn't, my body maybe couldn't have wasn't ready to handle it. So it's like, I feel like now the person that I've become and the things I've worked on for myself was like my big focus on why I was like trying to rebuild myself and strength before I got pregnant the second time was I wanted to be able to carry a healthier pregnancy if I got pregnant. That was my big focus. Like I wasn't focused on getting pregnant. I was just focusing on preparing my body. So if that was in the cards, I was ready.
Yeah, I love that. Is there anything you'd recommend that would help prepare someone for pregnancy and birth?
So a book I would recommend was Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. So it was a little bit different of a book. It wasn't your like what to expect when expecting, because I feel like that was a good book when I went through my first pregnancy. But for this pregnancy, I wanted to like look at things differently. So I would definitely say, find a community. There's so many Facebook communities, so many Instagram communities, so many podcasts nowadays. So like find something that you can listen to, because whatever it is you're going through, just don't go through it alone. If you have questions, ask the questions, find the community that you feel like you belong in and like reach out. Like if you hear my story and you're inspired by something, reach out. I'm an open book. I have no problem sharing, anything about my story. I'm a pretty open book, but, find that community so you can ask those questions, and if you're scared to, like a lot of things in Facebook, you can post anonymously in a group. So definitely read or, listen and support. And if you're not okay, like for me, a big thing was taking away from people that were taking away from me. Like I started like subtracting people from my life and my circle because I didn't want it to affect what I was going for with this pregnancy. Like I didn't want that negative. Like when people started being negative around me, I started like excusing myself and stepping myself away, because when you're pregnant, your hormones are already at a high. So I would definitely strongly suggest like getting away from that and stepping away from that, because otherwise you're going to feed off of that even more when you're pregnant. It's hard enough when you're not pregnant. And when you're pregnant, it's even more, because it's like you feed off that, your baby feeds off that. And then it's like your hormones become like, you go from super happy to raging bitch.
Yeah. What advice would you give yourself when you were pregnant if you could go back?
The advice I would give myself if I could go back would just be continue to embrace the journey, continue to live day by day, continue to enjoy every moment as if it's your last pregnancy, and truly embrace your body and what your body is capable of doing through a pregnancy.
I love that. Where can our listeners find you on the internet?
So you can find me on both Facebook, Instagram. On Facebook, you can look me up as Tracy Gabrielsen. I think you actually have to look me up as Tracy Post Gabrielsen, which has my maiden and married name. And then on Instagram, it's inspired_by_wellness. And I believe you can also search Tracy Gabrielsen and you'll see my Inspired by Wellness profile come up as well.
And thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next Monday.